making headlines this hour. The Chinese ambassador describes the China-Maldives Friendship Bridge as an engineering marvel. The parliament approves the appointment of Zam'at Ahmad Wahid as the newest member of the Broadcasting Commission of the Maldives. And the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority's annual report show that the authority recovered around $243.8 million through enforcement last year.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. The Parliament has approved the appointment of Zam'at Ahmad Wahid as the newest member of the Broadcasting Commission of the Maldives, or Broadcom. Broadcasting Commission member Aminat Amina's term expired on the 14th of June. The President had forwarded half a dozen of the names of 6 eligible candidates out of the ones who applied to Parliament. As one of the nominations, Ahmad Rilwan, was appointed to the Commission last month, the Parliamentary Independent Institutions Committee had interviewed the remaining 5 candidates. However, only 3 candidates, including Zam'at, had scored more than the required 75% marks during the interview stage. When the 3 were put to a vote during the Parliament sitting on Monday, the Parliament picked Zam'at with 59 lawmakers voting in favor. The 7-member Broadcom is appointed for a 5-year term. The current 6 serving members of the Broadcasting Commission are its President Safa Shafiq, Vice President Shilfa Ibrahim, Aminat Nuzaha, Muhammad Abdullah, Ahmad Rilwan, and Aminat Sarahat Izzat. The Chinese ambassador to the Maldives, Kong Xinghua, describes the China-Maldives Friendship Bridge as an engineering marvel which has transformed Maldivians' life and economy. Responding to President Dr. Mohamed Muiz's directive to declare the 30th of August of each year as National Engineers Day to mark the anniversary of the inauguration of the China-Maldives Friendship Bridge, Ambassador Xinghua, in a post on his X account, said this engineering marvel of Chinese and Maldivian engineers transformed Maldivians' life and economy drastically. The construction of the Sinamale Bridge, partly funded under the grant assistance of the Chinese government, began in 2014. The bridge was just completed in just under 4 years and remains the largest infrastructure project in Maldivian history. The 1.39-kilometer bridge was connected to Hulule and symbolizes the long-standing friendship between the Maldives and China. The bridge is 20.3 meters wide and has 2 lanes for 4-wheelers and 2 lanes for cyclists. Maldives Inland Revenue Authority, or MIRA's annual report showed that the authority recovered around $243.8 million through enforcement action last year.
According to MIRA, it had issued notices to 36,843 non-filers last year, out of which 8,139 taxpayers had complied with the notice. The report said MIRA had managed to recover $243.8 million from 18,969 different taxpayers last year through its half a dozen enforcement measures. Recovery through enforcement action: notice $177.7 million, dues clearance $40.6 million, name and shame $2.8 million, account freezing $7.1 million, legal act dollars. Taxpayers last year from 3,535 different taxpayers. Last year, 55 IRA efforts to recover tax dues and prevent tax evasion.
Education, aiming to eliminate inconsistencies in curricula and standardize academic progression across higher education institutions nationwide. The initiative, gazetted as a comprehensive set of minimum standards by the MQA, targets long-standing obstacles that students have faced while navigating varied program content and instructional durations across institutions.
Such challenges have persisted for years, the MQA said, with students pursuing qualifications in Quranic sciences frequently encountering structural barriers when transferring between centers or elaborated, creating inefficiencies and delaying advancement. According to the MQA, these inconsistencies posed the greatest hindrance to those seeking diploma and degree-level credentials. In response, the MQA enacted the minimum standards for educational programs of the Holy Quranic Sciences. The framework lays out a clearly defined national curriculum covering programs from certificate level 1 through undergraduate qualifications. It also standardizes key academic parameters, stipulating the duration of instruction, defining credit requirements at each level, and outlining eligibility criteria for enrollment. A commitment to ensuring seamless academic mobility lies at the heart of this policy, the authority stated, allowing students under the restructured system to transition smoothly from one level of study to the next at another institution without encountering curricular misalignment. The change, it added, is expected to establish a more structured, coherent, and equitable education experience for all students of the Holy Quran.
Maldives Airports Company Limited, or MACL, partners with as many as 17 major airlines in its sea-to-air cargo transshipment service. MACL, in collaboration with Maldives Ports Limited, or MPL, launched sea-to-air cargo transshipment services in May last year, aimed at providing accessible freight transport via land, sea, and air. This hybrid model is designed to meet the needs of businesses operating in the region and streamline transportation processes in a sustainable manner. MACL said its sea-to-air cargo services are currently connected by 17 international airlines. MACL is also shipping cargo from Maldives to 23 destinations across the globe through sea-to-air cargo. Air cargo services having already revenue for the island nation. The Malé Water and Sewerage Company, or MWSC, has completed and formally commissioned water and sewerage systems on the islands of Fiori and Vadu in Gaf Dal Atoll in what officials characterized as a significant stride in the nation's public infrastructure development. The newly operational systems are expected to provide uninterrupted access to clean drinking water and reliable sanitation services for local residents, according to government officials, reinforcing ongoing efforts to elevate public health and living conditions in the southern atolls.
According to MWSC, a delegation of senior representatives from the Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure, Fenaka Corporation, and MWSC traveled to both islands to oversee the commissioning and assess the finalized works. Central to the project is a newly established water supply network that includes dedicated facility buildings for housing operational plants, a fully integrated distribution system, and household service connections. To secure long-term reliability, MWSC has installed boreholes, reject lines, storage tanks, and the requisite water treatment infrastructure. The company also delivered end-to-end sewerage systems comprising main pipeline works, pumping lines, sea outfalls, and multiple pumping stations. Individual household connections were completed with appropriate junction fittings, ensuring seamless integration into the broader network. In support of operational sustainability, MWSC said it will equip both islands with water quality testing tools and assign a dedicated vehicle for the maintenance and servicing of the sewerage infrastructure. The Dual Island Initiative, commissioned by the Construction Ministry and executed by MWSC, reflects substantial investment in public utilities. According to the utility provider, the project on Fiori carried a cost of $3.89 million, while infrastructure works on Vadu amounted to $3.96 million. The completion aligns with President Dr. Mohamed Muiz's broader infrastructure agenda. His administration has pledged to resolve long-standing delays to water and sewerage development projects, committing their delivery under full state oversight.
Oil prices are volatile on Monday after surging 7% on June 13th as renewed strikes by Israel and Iran over the weekend increased concerns that the battle could widen across the region and significantly disrupt oil exports from the Middle East.
Brent crude futures rose 64 cents or 0.86% to $74.87 a barrel by 5:07 GMT, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 76% or 1.04% to $73.74. They had surged more than $4 a barrel earlier in the session and also fell into negative territory briefly. Both benchmarks settled 7% higher on Friday, having jumped more than 13% during the session to their highest level since January. Iranian missiles struck Israel's Tel Aviv and the port city of Haifa on Monday, destroying homes and fueling concerns among world leaders at this week's G7 meeting that the battle between the two old enemies could lead to a broader regional conflict. An exchange of strikes between Israel and Iran on Sunday resulted in civilian casualties, with both militaries urging civilians on the opposing side to take precautions against further strikes. The latest developments have stoked concerns about disruptions to the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping passage. About a fifth of the world's total oil consumption, or some 18 to 19 million barrels per day, or BPD, of oil, condensate, and fuel passes through the strait.
UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi provides an update on the situation at Iran's nuclear facilities after Israel launched military strikes and said there was no sign of further damage at the Natanz or Fordo enrichment sites. Grossi and the International Atomic Energy Agency he heads had previously reported that the smallest of Iran's 3 enrichment plants and above-ground pilot plant at the sprawling Natanz nuclear complex had been destroyed. While there was no sign of a physical attack on the bigger underground enrichment plant at Natanz, its power supply was destroyed, which may have damaged the uranium enriching centrifuges there. No damage was seen at the Fordo plant dug into a mountain. The International Atomic Energy Agency will remain present in Iran's, Grossi said. He added that the safeguards inspections in Iran would continue as soon as safety conditions are allowed. Iranian Foreign Ministry says the country's parliamentarians are preparing a bill that could push Tehran toward exiting the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty while reiterating Tehran's official stance against developing nuclear weapons. When asked at a press conference about Tehran potentially leaving the NPT, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei said the proposals are currently being drafted and the government will definitely ensure the necessary coordination with the parliament during the drafting process. The NPT, which Iran ratified in 1970, guarantees countries the right to pursue civilian nuclear power in return for requiring them to forego atomic weapons and cooperate with the UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA. Israel began bombing Iran last week, saying Tehran was on the verge of building a nuclear bomb. Iran has always said its nuclear program is peaceful, although the IAEA declared last week that Tehran was in violation of its NPT obligations. President Masoud Pezeshkian reiterated that on Monday, nuclear weapons were against a religious edict by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Iran's state media said that no decision on quitting the NPT had yet been made by parliament, while a parliamentarian said that the proposal was at the initial stages of the legal process. Israel, which never joined the NPT, is widely assumed by regional governments to possess nuclear weapons, although it does not confirm nor deny this. JJ Spaun emerged from a packed leaderboard to win the US Open for his first major championship with a 2-shot victory over Robert McIntyre on Sunday at Oakmont Country Club after heavy rains had forced a suspension in play.
Needing a par at the closing hole to avoid falling into a 2-hole aggregate score playoff that would have been held on Monday, Spaun went one better and drained a massive 60-foot birdie putt in the rain to win by 2 shots. When the clinching putt dropped, Spaun tossed his putter, delivered a fist pump, hugged his caddy, and then walked off the green with his 2 young daughters in tow on Father's Day to celebrate a career-defining win. Spaun reached the drivable par 4 17th hole level with Scotland's McIntyre, who was already in the clubhouse after a 2-under 68 and delivered the shot of his life, a 309-yard strike that settled 17 feet from the cup. The 34-year-old American sent his eagle putt past the hole but made the comebacker and then went on to secure secure the win in style at the 18th, a hole he had bogeyed during the previous 2 rounds. The triumph comes 3 months after Spaun left the Players' Championship, where he lost in a playoff to world number 2 Rory McIlroy. Defeated, but knowing he could hang with the game's elite and with the confidence he needed to win the US Open. It was Spaun who led the way after the first round of the US Open, where he managed the only bogey-free round of the day despite playing on an Oakmont layout that is considered one of the toughest courses in the world. In the final round, Spaun appeared out of the mix after a carding 5 early double bogeys, but he held steady and, with the leaders all struggling to pull away, found himself back in the thick of things late on the back 9. World number 14 Viktor Hovland, 73, finished 3 shots back in 3rd place, while Cameron Young, 70, and LIV golf players Tyrell Hatton and Carlos Ortiz, 73, finished a further shot back in a share of 4th place. Overnight leader Sam Burns, 78, who took a 1-shot lead over Spaun and Adam Scott into the final round, struggled late and finished 5 shots back. Australian Scott, playing in his 96th consecutive major, dropped 5 shots over his closing 5 holes and finished in a share of 12th place after a closing 79. The final round was interrupted by a 96-minute weather delay after heavy rains forced puddles of water to form on the greens and fairways and forced the grounds crew at Oakmont to use squeegees to get the course ready.
Brazilian biologist Mario Moscatelli aims to transform the urban Rodrigo de Freitas Lagoon in Rio de Janeiro into a bird sanctuary through an innovative project featuring artificial floating islands. Moscatelli has installed 2 artificial floating islands covered with native vegetation in the lagoon located in Rio's southern zone, aiming to attract bird species previously absent from this ecosystem. The project builds on Moscatelli's 3 decades of restoration work on the mangrove swamps surrounding the lagoon, which provide essential protection for its shorelines. White egrets have already been spotted utilizing these new habits, with birds observed walking along the artificial islands, flying between them, and feeding on the emerging ecosystem. Fellow biologist Caroline Lima, who monitors the birds' behavior, noted their initial curiosity. The artificial islands, composed of creeping plants and grasses, serve as substrate, food source, nesting sites, and shelter for various animals, creating microhabitats within the urban environment. And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.